Okay, let's kick off this explainer by having you imagine something, well, pretty radical. What if, instead of holding a single, static piece of paper when you graduate, you carried every single verified skill you've ever learned in a portable digital backpack? Think of it like a dynamic portfolio, one that travels with you and constantly updates as you learn new things throughout your entire career. Today, we're unpacking this digital backpack to break down the rapidly evolving and sometimes kind of confusing world of non-traditional education. We're going to look at the massive shift away from traditional degrees toward micro-credentials, the very real challenges involved, and honestly, some incredibly strange psychological quirks that pop up when you start gamifying adult education. Section 1. Exploring the Alternative Credential Revolution. To really understand where the future of work is heading, we first need to look back at where this whole concept began. So, over a century ago, in 1910, the Scouts introduced physical merit badges. And they were brilliant at setting goals, motivating people, and communicating a very specific achievement. Fast forward to 2011, and the Mozilla Foundation, with backing from the MacArthur Foundation, brought this concept into the digital age by creating the Open Badges standard. But the real spark? That hit in 2020. With the post-pandemic shift to virtual spaces and a crazy, rapidly changing job market, universities were facing declining enrollments and got pushed into a massive digital learning boom. Suddenly, the microcredential went from a niche tech idea to a globally recognized necessity. Part 2, defining the digital credential landscape. Before we get into how this impacts you directly, we've got to untangle the terminology here, because educators and employers mix these up all the time. Think of a standard digital badge as something locked inside a specific website. Like, say TripAdvisor gives you a senior reviewer badge. Awesome, right? But you can't exactly slap that on your LinkedIn profile in any verifiable way. It's stuck in their closed ecosystem. Open badges, on the other hand, use a specific technical standard. They contain verified metadata about what you actually learned and the evidence of your skill. And the best part? They're portable. You can take them out of the classroom, store them in a personal repository like a Mozilla backpack, and carry them anywhere online. Now, micro-credentials take that open badge concept and really formalize it. We're not talking about participation trophies here. To be a true micro-credential, institutions require a rigorous, recognized amount of coursework, usually between 5 and 40 credits. They act as verifiable, stackable blocks, kind of like academic Legos, that can eventually build up to a larger macro-credential, like a full degree. Take a look at this visually striking explosion in academic research that kicked off right around 2014. Academia basically woke up and realized, hey, this isn't just a passing tech fad. It was a fundamental shift in how human beings evidence their learning. And that prompted a massive wave of empirical research into how effective these alternative credentials actually are in the real world. Section 3. Decoding learner and employer views. To truly grasp this ecosystem, we need to zoom in and look at the natural tension between the people earning the credentials and the people hiring them. For learners, the appeal is crystal clear. The research shows that a massive 63% of learners really value the motivation and flexibility of short, student-centered learning modules. You know, in an era where students are increasingly acting like consumers navigating an educational market, micro-credentials offer exactly what they're looking for: practical, up-to-date, 21st century skills that they can knock out on their own time. It directly boosts their employability without the massive cost or 4-year time sink of a traditional degree. But juxtapose that enthusiasm with the employers. An overwhelming 80% of employers are, frankly, terrified by the lack of consistency and standardization across these new alternative credentials. They want to hire skilled workers fast, but right now the landscape is basically the Wild West. With no global consensus on the definition or size of a microcredential, employers are struggling to figure out their real value. I mean, if they hire someone with a digital marketing badge, did that person sit through a 2-hour webinar, or did they pass a rigorous 4-week project-based assessment? That inconsistency is absolutely the biggest roadblock to adoption today. And to make things even more complex, deploying these badges in the real world revealed that students definitely don't all react to gamified learning in the same way. Researchers observed badge earning behavior and found that students naturally fall into 4 pretty fascinating psychological buckets. First, you have your badge hunters. These are the folks who just want to collect as many as humanly possible, often phoning in low-quality work just to get the shiny digital token. Then you have sharers, who produce really high-quality work, mostly because they want the social clout of showing it off online. Dodgers actively avoid the system entirely. And explorers, They're highly self-directed and dive deep into the material regardless of whether there's a badge at the end. It just proves you can't slap a badge on a course and magically expect universal motivation.
Part 4. How institutions and governments react. We've seen the learners and employers, so how are the massive suppliers of education scrambling to adapt to this disruption?
Check out this staggering number. 92%. Let that sink in for a second. That represents the percentage of literature highlighting a massive lack of academic and faculty support within universities that are trying to implement these systems. While the technology is totally there, universities are fighting a cultural battle. Faculties often just don't understand microcredentials. There are huge logistical struggles over how to assess and transfer credits from external sources. And honestly, there's a deep fear that these badges might erode the elite status and reputation of their traditional institutions. Meanwhile, governments, they see this completely differently. They view microcredentials as a highly efficient tool to drastically lower the sky-high cost of traditional degrees. Governments are actively pushing for these to rapidly upskill their populations, future-proof careers against disruptive new industries, and create national frameworks that finally bring that much-needed standardization to the chaotic market. To them, microcredentials are the ultimate agile response to a rapidly changing economy. Section 5. Quirks, Challenges, and Unforeseen Roadblocks. As with any disruptive system, theories on paper rarely survive contact with reality. When researchers studied real-world implementations, they uncovered some incredibly strange psychological quirks. Usually, badges reward positive behavior, right? But surprisingly, one study implemented negative badges, like a literal troll badge or an inactivity badge, to discourage bad behavior. Logically, you'd think, no way is a student going to accept or display a negative badge in their digital backpack, so this will fail. Yet students actually rated these negative badges as incredibly important for shaping the online environment. Just the mere threat of earning a negative badge proved to be a remarkably powerful psychological motivator to keep student behavior in check. Who knew? Another massive hurdle was the motivation gap. What if students just don't care about a digital picture? Well, to solve this, a technology training program at Appalachian State University literally bought engagement by tying digital badge points directly to physical rewards. Earn a basic badge, get a $5 bookstore gift card. Earn a really difficult badge, accumulate enough points, and you could redeem it for a brand new Kindle Paperwhite. While this was highly effective at driving participation for sure, it immediately raised some huge questions about the financial sustainability of, actually paying people to learn. Even more powerfully, we saw an earn-as-you-learn model deployed in South Africa. In resource-constrained environments, just handing out digital equipment often fails if the staff doesn't actually know how to use it. So, a program required teachers to earn specific digital badges proving their technical competency first. When 80% of a school's teachers earned their badges, they unlocked actual physical tech infrastructure for the school, things like projectors and tablet MOBA kits. It's a brilliant fusion, using a digital microcredential to guarantee knowledge before distributing precious physical resources. Finally, Section 6, Charting the Future of Learning. Let's wrap up this explainer by looking at what this all means for you. The traditional four-year degree is losing its absolute monopoly on the hiring process. That's just a fact. We are moving into a world where your education isn't a single event that ends in your 20s. It's a continuous, verifiable, and stackable digital backpack that you are going to carry with you forever. So as we wrap up, you have to ask yourself, in a world that increasingly values precise, verified competencies over generalized diplomas, what verifiable skills are you actively adding to your own digital resume today?